Welcome back and thanks for tuning in. This is now video 12 for Just Make It, and it is also the second video in my ongoing series for my table saw renovations. And as you can see here, I'm going to start off this video today by attaching these really nice, large, robust wheels to the bottom of the stand. Now you saw a little bit of wobble in that base plate, but once they're bolted in place, that comes out. And these wheels are hopefully my answer to kind of an ongoing problem I've been having with my projects that I put wheels on. I use small wheels, but they were rated for way more weight than I was, having them subjected to. But in one case, in less than a year, they started to fragment, and of course, it just makes it a massive pain to try and move things around. And these hopefully will last a lot longer. I won't have to replace them in, a year or two. So we'll see how that goes. So I've drilled the holes. I am going to tap in now some 1/4 inch bolts. They're 20 threads per inch, and they're also 1 inch long. I went with these shorter ones because this is 3/4 inch plywood, so they're only sticking through a little bit, and I didn't want any of the bolts sticking through the nut, and that way I catch on things as I'm wheeling this around, so I wanted it to be nice and smooth. There's a bit of a problem though, of course, when I am installing them, and that is you're going to see here in a second. When I was drilling through, a bit of push through at the end resulted in a couple of splinters sticking out, and that got in the way between the bolt itself and I kicked the camera there, and the surface of the plywood. So it wasn't quite enough for me to catch the threads, so I had to tap it out, remove those splinters, and then tap it back in. And it's not a big deal. It was just one of those things while you're in the process of doing a project like this that was like, this is just time consuming. But in the end, they're attached extremely firmly, and definitely going to be something I think that won't be an issue for moving them around, because I found it's actually probably a little bit too easy to move now, and I'll probably have to put some wheel brakes on these. I didn't buy any ones that had the automatic locking, but it's simple to make a simple V-block for these and keep them in place that way, if it is an issue, of course. So far I haven't really had a problem with it, but we'll see how it goes. So once these are on, I have 3 more to do after this. I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to actually just get it out of the way for a little bit, because I didn't intend for video 2 to be so much further along than the first video for this series, because you may not remember, but my table saw's attachments are old, they're rusty, and they don't work very well at all, and all that stuff has to come off. And of course also original stand, so all those materials have to be removed. So here we are. This is the stand, the new one, upside down still, and everything's all attached. And now I'm just going to get this out of the way and get to work on the other one. I'm not going to show you all of the all the materials I took off, or actually I'm not going to show you much of it at all, to tell you the truth. It is just one of those things that takes a long time, because a fair amount of them were quite rusty, and I had to put in WD-40 is what I used, trying to get the bolts to not be seized, and it was just long and tedious. I'm going to show you just a couple here. As it turns out, a fair amount of this footage was a little blurry anyway, so just saving you guys having to look at something like this. But these are the rails for the rip fence, and it's just like I said, they're rusty, and the fence itself was also having issues. It wasn't really that rusty or anything, but the mechanism that allows me to tighten it down, I'm not sure what happened with it, but at some point in time it got a bit dented, and it simply just wasn't clamping properly. So I'm quite happy to get rid of this whole assembly and make a new one, because it's definitely something that needed to be either buy a new table saw or do this, and this is obviously the much cheaper way of going. So I'm going to pull all these off. I'm going to show them to you, because there's quite a few pieces of material here. This is all the stuff that came off of it, and like I said, all that is now heading for the recycle bin. I'm going to keep some of the nuts because they're quite solid, at least the ones that don't have rust in them. And then the other thing I need to do now, of course, is remove all the bolts that hold the saw itself to the stand. And the hard part about that was it was just very difficult to reach in there and undo the bolts while holding onto the nut. And it was just awkward. But anyway, I got it all done. So this is now loose, and it's just a simple matter now of cutting a hole in this. I need to cut a hole, and this is the size of it, so that all the sawdust that comes down through this has some place to go. Now, the old system I had with the old open bottom stand with the wheels, the sawdust would just drop down through there onto the bottom plywood, and then as things got moved around, it would get shook, and sawdust would basically end up over the floor, and I have to sweep it a lot more. I've noticed that now that I have 3 sides that are enclosed like this, a lot less sawdust goes anywhere except a little bit out the front. But of course, I want to deal with that as well. And once that's done, I think I'll have a lot less as far as sawdust issues go for sure. So I'm just going to cut this hole out, and that's pretty much the end of the video for today. I am going to continue working on this. There's a lot more stuff I need to do. And as always, leave comments. Let me know what you think of this and of any other ideas you might have for even just renovating table saws like this or other projects. I always appreciate comments, so let me know what you think. So I'm going to show you the last clip of this sitting on here. It has not been bolted down yet because I still want to fiddle with how it is as far as backwards or forwards. And again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.